ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another fabulous episode of the Healthcare Trailblazers podcast. I am really excited to be sitting here today with the wonderful Pavani Munjuluri. Pavani has a really interesting story. Pavani is the co-founder and CEO of a company called Cognitive Health Technologies. It's an AI agent and tool in the RCM space, and so we'll hear all about it. But, just talking offline, there's some really interesting things I'm excited for you all to hear about, just about the founder journey that Pavani has had and some of the challenges and overcoming them. And there's just so much here. So Pavani, thank you for spending time today.
Thanks, Mendel, for having me on your show, and a pleasure to be here today.
So let's start with what is Cognitive Health Technologies? Just give us the rundown.
Sure. Cognitive Health Technologies is AI platform for revenue cycle, and specifically for healthcare use cases. And we are bringing the AI agents into the workforce. So that's what Cognitive Health is doing. Our platform is called ICAM, Integrated Cognitive Agent Network. And our agents can pretty much execute end-to-end workflows within the revenue cycle space.
Cool. So, everyone has been talking about for the last year, I think the theme has been, last year's theme has been hype. This year's theme has been practical applications for, generative AI in healthcare. And I think that the common, the consensus is that the immediate value, the lowest hanging fruit is going to be around administrative things. And obviously the RCM space seems to be an obvious point of value because there's so much administrative burden that goes into submitting these claims. And so being able to have an AI tool that can really help kind of do all the basics and then maybe, highlight or send up the flagpole, the cases or the claims that need maybe human supervision seems to be super obvious. So the value is definitely there. I want to talk about some of your successes, but what I really want to dig into today, Pavani, is the founder journey. So there was, I'm going to let you fill in a lot of the blanks here, but speaking to you offline, there was another company in the space that has since gone belly up. They've since actually basically gone out of business. And they, at one point, were crushing the market from a fundraising perspective. They basically took any dollar from VC that was available to this kind of tool. They took it. And so I think it's all public. This isn't trashing anyone. So feel free, give us, what was the name of the company and the numbers? Let's start there.
Sure. So I'll tell you how we even know about, the first 2018, the Q4 of 2018 is when we were conceptualizing the idea. There was no AI at that time. It was still an RPA world. RPA was very, popular and was used in banking, in a bunch of other industries. And, I'll come to the story of how we got into it a little later. But so then that was our goal was, can we bring RPA into, I was actually working with some real world evidence-based treatment patterns for oncology, for diabetes, value-based design, and things like that. And we needed to collaborate with the payers and the providers on both sides of the aisle. And we saw that the systems don't talk to each other. There's too much of human intervention required. At the end of the day, even if you have the right intentions on both sides, the execution and implementing and bringing these programs to the light of the day is almost, down bottom of the priority list because there's so many things going on. So RPA was one of the initial ideas we had. Can we bring the RPA to do transact the data, do a bunch of different stuff so we can bring some of these value-based programs, care models to light? That was a very 2018 Q4 is history here. And that's when in December of 2018, there was an announcement in the press saying cross-checks, which Olive used to be cross-checks prior to when he started in 2012, has raised about $35 million for doing exactly what workflow automation we were talking about. And we presented to some of our industry peers, colleagues, hey, if I build something like this, would you buy? What's the value? Is there we're doing our due diligence, we're doing our research before we jump heads into that. And that's when Olive raised their first actual big money. And they rebranded themselves as Olive. And I'm like, yay, we are celebrating. There's money in the market. We see this as an opportunity. And since then, so we would always kind of then go back and compare what's Olive doing, what are we doing, and we've run into them in a different of initial healthcare conferences, Becker's, and it sounds very similar if you take off the logos and the approach was very similar. Of course, they're starting off from a very different platform. We did not have anyone on the platform. It was just our concept and the initial framework which was going to the market. But Olive had, based on the cross-checks works they were doing, they were present in a bunch of regional health systems, hospitals, where they were doing unique patient identifier. That was their earlier first product or first offering, which they were, again, this is all talking, quote, only me and no one else, that there was a lot of these things were also given as pilots and free of charge and a bunch of different things. So they had a platform available in the health system space to play with. By the end of, so there were a couple other companies, I guess, smaller entities. So I think and in a bunch of places where we signed the contract with a client, like a health system, they're also talking to Olive. They also signed a contract with Olive very initially early on. And then once Olive raised the money and they put so much money in the marketing, everywhere we would go from a market perspective, from a target potential customers perspective, they were telling us, hey, I just signed up with Olive. I'm going to work. Then I'll come back to you once I try this because I cannot pilot with two different companies. And 6, 7, 10 months later, we are still hearing that it's not gone live. But they're already tied into that. And that's where the whole COVID happened and, all the 9 years. So, and on the VC side, we were talking to a bunch of investors to raise funds because the RPA was dead even before we got into it. We had to quickly realize that just leveraging RPA as a technology was not going to give us end-to-end value. We needed more intelligent workflows. We need more intelligent technology. We needed more the agents. So even before agents became a thing, we were doing that without branding it, etc. That we need different kind of skill sets and capabilities within that automation platform, and not RPA just piece of the puzzle. We needed different other Lego pieces, and that's when when we went to the market, the feedback we were getting was, hey, Olive's taken another 30K, Olive's raised another 400 million, Olive's raised another money. So how will my 5, 10, $15 million move the needle? How far will it go? So we were kind of got in a place where we were not getting as much traction on the market side, as not much traction on the fundraise side. And one of the C-suite executives at one of the health systems, when I was like, see what Olive's doing, and like, you should have done this or whatever. And I remember her telling her, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So when this whole thing happened, she was like, see, you're still around, post-COVID, post all of that. So we don't know what's in future store for us. But I have a very strong, I have, very strong emotions and faith in what we are doing, and that what we're bringing is very meaningful to the industry at this stage. So that's the story of the journey there, Mendel.
Well, that's the overview. We're going to dig in. So, so in your view, why did Olive fail?
Olive raised close to about 900 the last round. They had a valuation of $4 billion. Throughout the process of the 4 years before and during and post-COVID, in all our interactions with prospects, clients, industry, Olive pivoted so many times. If you're looking at a startup story, they say, hey, it's good to pivot, right? That you're supposed to pivot, you're responding to the markets. But I don't know if the reasons for pivoting were more just to increase the value. It is increase just the valuation game. I felt like the bottom line, they were playing the valuation game more than making a difference in the industry. They initially cross-checks, workflow. They spent too much dollars and money in marketing. They had this so-called Olive buses, which would go to different health systems providers. There was like a lot of freebies. The employees were like, they were living in like the whole dollars where I felt were not focused on where a product was getting built, which needs value to the industry. That is one. Two, within the business lines, they raised so much money that they also had an all-in investment firm within the company, which was used for acquiring and funding and all of that. They raised that level of money. And So I was happy that they were raising money, that there's a value for the technology and the space we are in. But the downside, if you overextend your credibility and you over leverage, then this is, and we didn't want it to fail. Personally, honestly, we never would have want Olive to not do well, because that reflects on the entire industry. The second thing is they initially did the automation workflow. Then they bought a company called Verada, which is a physician-owned and started company specifically for prior authorization. That's where they were focused on. So they bought that company, which had clients on the payer side. So they wanted to connect to the other side. They brought that in. They bought a health system. They bought a clearinghouse. So essentially, instead of being outside the health net, like provider space, and being the technology partner, Olive got into the middle of. So it's no more a technology company by the time it closed doors. They were inside the health system. They were become one of the players of the health system, the health industry. So what Olive said at the last, I heard from Sean and the ex-CEO and all of them, the last one of this online interviews was, they actually bought the clearinghouse, as you're saying. You scrub the claims and submit the claims, and you get the money paid back. Olive was acting like that was the clearinghouse which they bought, and they were trying to pay the providers without doing all of the work. They had so much money that they were saying, we will do the reconciliation later, we will do that later, you submit me the claim and I will pay you. You're not bringing the optimization in an automated workflow. You are trying to change the game, but not in the most effective way. You're just trying to build your personal valuation of the company. Olive had so many recapitalizations. I mean, all the big names out there were in there. So every time I would see this, who is giving this valuation? Like, what is there in that? And then when Olive broke down, the two serious businesses were bought by Waystar, and Verata, the CEO, got the company back, and it's called Humata now. They recently raised another fundraise, which is again focused on prior authorization, and Waystar is on the eligibility and bunch of pieces. So there are some components definitely good from a product perspective, but they could not execute because it was too distributed and it had too many varying goals to that. And for me personally, being in the healthcare space, me and my partners for the last 30, 40 plus years, we have seen this over and over again. If the entity which is coming to make a difference in healthcare does not understand healthcare, it kind of doesn't give you the results. Like you've seen Google's come in and go, you've seen Amazon coming and go, you've seen all of these large players, SAPs, they've come and they've gone, because for you to make a difference and to have a business which is viable, there are too many moving parts, and you need to know what are the levers to move and what are the variables to touch to have a sustainable business model and also deliver value.
Mm-hmm. It's such a fascinating story, and probably one of many examples of companies that actually get killed by raising too much money, which I think to a lot of people sounds like the craziest thing. How could that happen?
Right.
But when you raise money, it forces you to do a couple things. It forces you, first of all, to spend the money. And so you got to find things to spend the money on. And often those things can then turn into massive distractions, because the objective is not necessarily to optimize the company, but to spend the money in a way that the investors are going to look upon kindly, at least. And secondly, a lot of people, my co-founder loves to say this a lot, like a lot of people look at money as like, oh, congratulations, but it's, you just put yourself in debt, first of all. And now you have to prove that kind of value. If you're going to put yourself at a $4 billion valuation, I mean, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And who was doing the fundraising?
And with a lot of money comes a lot of responsibility. Like I personally,
with great money comes great responsibility. Yeah. Exactly. It's so interesting. Yeah. Wow. And so let's talk about you. So what were you? So they really shut you out of essentially being able to fundraise in any kind of substantial way, but also deal flow was getting really difficult because everyone was doing these demos or these pilots with them. Were you able to get any sales during that time? How did you kind of power through that period? Now, obviously you're on the other side of it, but you didn't know that this is the way it would go then.
Correct. No. So I think it was just being persistent. Mendel, I think, one of the things is they just show up. So we would just Olive is there, but they are in this piece of the house, they're doing this work. Can you give us something else? And this is we kind of offered a lot of free of charge pilots and showcase the value of what we bring to the table. Try to stay focused on one or two specific use cases. Just do the same thing over and over again, and we've built the capability and to talk about that. So then when a client is talking to the prospect is talking to us, we know exactly what they're saying, and they understand that we understand their language. I think speaking the same language, that is one. And two, what also helped during this entire time is we were able to heads down focus on all the innovative things in the product, which we otherwise would not have time to do because we would have been continuously doing client delivery, and we wouldn't have been able to build a lot of pieces within the product, which we now have been able to build. So that's the upside of the whole thing, that we're not just talking agents in a PowerPoint or in a concept, but that's what we have actually built as a foundation for our platform.
So let's fast forward to today again, like kind of going on the other side of it. And then I want to jump back and forth to contrast a couple times. But so where are you at today? So what are your metrics of success? Is it number of clients, revenue? What are you bragging about today?
Yes, all of that, Mendel. So we have a bunch of clients. They are our spokespersons. They come with us to the conferences. They are able to give us references. Wow. We are expanding. We're like, we start with one use case and we're expanding. They're also our advisors, which is, I think, the way I would want the companies to collaborate, the technology companies. We should not be working and building something in our own garages and isolation and bring it and sell. I think it should be a very collaborative approach. So then
one second, pause right there. You just said a great line. You didn't even mean to, but you said a great line. Don't build it in your own garage. Go build it in your client's garage. Wow, that's a great line.
Yeah.
Well done, Pavani. That's a great line.
Yes. I think it's and you kind of get attached and tied into your own idea and your own concept, what you have, that sometimes you don't see the feedback coming at you. There's a lot of feedback always. Some of, and we've got a varied kind of feedback, both from venture funds as well as health systems over the last few years. Some were relevant to us and some we had to say, no, this is not, they're not seeing us the way we see ourselves. So we are not going to take this feedback. Like some VCs were like, hey, I don't want to look at end-to-end RCM. I only want to see if you can focus on one use case. And on the other side, they said, hey, we want to see a lot of it because then it gives you a capability to scale. So we've had this, and some health systems are like, hey, I just want you to like do this. I believe in having multiple vendors, multiple partners. So I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. And on the other hand, you have providers who say, I don't want to deal with too many providers. Business partners, I don't want to do so many status calls and so many updates. I want, smaller versions. So we've seen on both sides of the aisle, and I think we try to stay where our vision and our goal is, where we think we want to make the difference in the industry, which is we want to be end-to-end revenue cycling, but we want to deliver silos. We want to deliver it one thing at a time. We are not going to be able to do that. Is impossible to do end-to-end. Like you can't say let an AI run from the front-end registration to the AR and follow-up. That is not where we are. We may be in few years. I'm not sure. Right now, you have the capabilities, you have the components. We want to build the entire RCM. We have different agents in different spots, but we deliver in one siloed, one workflow, one business unit at a time, and build on that and take it forward.
Yeah. What's your kind of process for coming to those conclusions? What's the framework that you use or the approach that you use to decide, should we... Is this great? We have so many ideas, right? New feature, new product. Is this a complete distraction? Is this maybe we should build out an MVP, but not all the way, or do you not believe in that at all? What's kind of your mindset when it comes to development?
So my first and foremost is providers and their workflows. So I think let me take a step back. I think you already have a lot of systems in the healthcare industry. You have I think on average, there was some research, some statistic which said, I think 30 plus systems, like in a typical hospital system, you have 30 plus systems, to EMRs, billing system, lab, radiology, finance, HR. So you have like a zillion of those. For us, the first and foremost goal is, are we replicating what's already there? Are we mimicking what's already there using an AI? We don't want to do that. But there are a lot of gaps, which is why you have so many systems. And there are a lot of gaps within EMR. There are a lot of gaps I don't want to be like called out on that, but like when you look at Epic has certain things which works great, certain things which don't work great. Within things which work great, there are gaps, which is why you see, even though you have implemented all these systems, you still have a lot of administrative staff, which is where the dollars are spent. So for us, the first and foremost is this use case filling an existing gap? That is one. Or are we doing something more efficiently which already exists? If we are just bringing efficiency for something which already exists, that will not run long. Whoever is doing currently will kind of fix it. But there is a gap, and you see that it's going to take much longer journey, much long road for that gap to be filled. That's where we want to come in. So our platform kind of sits and wraps around the EMR systems, what hospitals and health providers and physician groups, they all have, and we're trying to fill in the gaps and the holes where they are throwing humans or staffs or bodies at, and that's where we come in. That is one. And two, we have to be mindful of what's out there in the market. Again, we're not living under a rock, right? So for example, the automated coding that's been around for a while. So do I want to invest the dollars in reinventing that or doing something else? Maybe down the line, but not right now. So we're cognizant of what's happening around in the industry and where are the dollars already there. So for prior authorization, all have spent a ton load of money, whether it's there or not. The businesses have been bought by Verata, Humata now, and Waystar. And there are a couple of other companies who've raised lots, hundreds of millions of dollars doing prior authorization. So we tend to stay away as a full-fledged solution in prior auth. We do prior auth initiation, prior auth tracking, and we do a bunch of other stuff which are relevant for our clients, so that no need for them to bring another AI to that small area. So we do that, but we don't go all the way. So for us, the criteria is, are we filling the gap? Are we creating value by filling the gap? And are we cognizant of what's available in the market? So then, if someone comes to me and says, hey, could you do automated coding? Then I refer to someone else in the industry whom we know, and, or we say, hey, we don't do it, but so-and-so can do it. So, and that's how I feel you are maximizing the dollars going in the industry. You're not reinventing every time and not using that money in the right way.
Is there any examples that you have of like features or things that you were like actually totally, you were like, this is going to be amazing, and then you, after doing some of that initial process, you totally walked back or discontinued?
Prior authorization is one of that examples. Prior authorization, we were doing that. We did that for a client. The biggest thing for prior authorization is the way Olive approached is they approach it by specialty. Every radiology and orthos, and like we were working with a regional hospital which did not have all these specialties. So we were able to initiate the prior authorization application for them, and for us, and then go back and submit the relevant documents. So we were like, oh, the solution is ready. But then when we go to the market, there's much more development effort, dollars, all of that is required. And we said, okay, let's take back. Let's just offer the prior authorization initiation, the tracking, all of that as a part of our platform. But let's not go and build the other components right away, because that's not where we would use our dollars and in our budgets. We are focused more on the back end, which is the cash reconciliation, posting, the lockbox, all the correspondence management, the denials, the medical record request, eligibility, insurance discovery. That's where we are on the mid to back office more. And that's where we said, let's put our dollars and more innovation product development there. But we do have pieces throughout the front, middle, and back. But we're right now building and putting our dollars there.
Gotcha. Talking about kind of like, the actual sale and interoperability, what has been your strategy with getting health systems to at least, try it? Like, I feel like so many technologies, they die on the vine of like, all right, sounds interesting, but now we have to actually try it. But in order to try it, you have to go through, legal and this and this and this and this and this and this. And then we got to talk to our tech team. Tech team says, talk to me in 2037. And then, so what has been kind of what have you been successful with actually getting people just getting their foot in the door?
Every system is different, Mendel. I wish I had like one process to say this works for everyone. Every system is kind of slightly different. For some, the whole IT is outsourced, which is a totally different conversation. For some, they're at the right time. They've done a bunch of upgrades on their Epic. They're like, they've done all. So let me tell you a story. So when we first started with Yale, was our first client, and we had this PowerPoint deck, and went to Yale and say, hey, would you want to be our co-development partner? As I said, we didn't want to build this in our garage. We want to build it in your garage. So then Yale said, sure, but like, let's do it in the extreme back. And I don't want you to touch anything else, which would be, which I probably cannot deal with if something goes wrong. Let's have enough guardrails, and let's go toward the end of thing, which is the cash posting and reconciliation piece. And we said, let's go there. So the initial meetings were with the CFO, because there's dollars involved. The CFO said, meet my head of rev cycle, the head of the business unit. They are the ones who would do some of these initiatives. We met with them. And then they said, hey, you need to be blessed by the IT team. Then we went to, so this dance will continue, whether it goes from here till there to there, or so what we tend to do is we have our AI platforms. All of technology doesn't work in isolation. It's a business solution, but it has IT impact. So before COVID, the IT teams had to just say, yes, is it secure? Is it good? Does it meet my guidelines? So what we do is we will follow the client's security and compliance guidelines. We are high trust. We have HIPAA, all of that in place. So we are not doing anything crazy, and we're not, staying out of the line. All the health system providers, they all want to do this. In fact, ours is much more stringent. As I said, if you were able to do something on the video, it would have turned red flags all over. So then, so then they would have to just, like, post COVID, we've moved on from plain RP. We're not going and poking anything. It's much more cleaner, efficient API calls, the fires, and it's a little bit more of all of that. Plus, everybody wants AI. Everybody has an AI strategy. Every top company we talk to, health system providers, they all have. The large ones have invested some money and have a smaller teams in-house, but they're also looking for business partners to add, because it's not possible for them to build all that they want within their own team. They have to partner with outside entities. So now you have a more comprehensive or cohesive strategies for some people. For some, it's the early stages on. But the IT has, as you rightly said, they have so many other priorities on the list that they would not want to do anything. So for us, we say there's nothing IT needs to do. There's no implementation. They have to do nothing other than making sure that we are compliant with your systems, which is the only way we could do it. So there's IT is not doing any lifting and shifting, implementing, installing. Nothing is going on. Everything is done by us. But we would want them to make sure that we are in line with their security policies, compliance, etc. So the dance between the technology and the business will continue. Sometimes the technology team introduces us to the business team, sometimes the business to the technology. But essentially, we are supporting the business functions and business workflow. So that's where we are.
Awesome. Really cool. Well, it's so interesting to, I think your story is so unique. I mean, being kind of, so to speak, the underdog and crushed in the market, but then actually proving to be kind of the slow and steady, sustainable partner, and not the giant, I'm guessing bloated, big splash, but
right.
Kind of fades out pretty quickly. It's so cool to sit here now and look back. What are some of your goals for 2025? Obviously, besides for growing the business, and what are some goals?
Growth. That is our big goal for 2025. And also, the product. So right now, as I said, we are on the back end of rev cycle. We have correspondence, which is the lockbox management, the cash posting, the eligibility. We want to at least be able to be doing end-to-end rev cycle, at least in a couple of client locations. That would be our goal. So the biggest thing with AI or any of these technologies, Mendel, right now is if you touch some data at the front end and keep it clean, everything in the back end flows smoothly, and the patient experience, and we all talk about patient experience, which is, it starts on the clinical side. Your clinician has to be in a good bedside manner. They have to treat you well and all of that. But it actually has a big impact when they'll see the bill, when they're seeing the explanation of benefits, what got paid, what did not get paid. So the end to end of that, the connection between the clinical and rev cycle is very important, and bringing AI right there when it's required. So the data, there is no data loss, and you're not touching the data multiple times, because once you have that in the platform, you're able to draw multiple insights. So for us, the goal for 2025 would be to at least do a few installations where the platform is sitting and doing a lot more end-to-end rev cycle than just in a couple of use cases, and of course growth, and add more clients and build all of that. And the third thing again is there are a lot of regional systems and academic medical centers which I feel will benefit from this, because the staffing challenges are like, let's not even go there kind of thing. There are like so many staffing challenges. And yes, just yesterday I was talking to someone from the New York State area, and they have a new program to educate nurses to reach students at the high school level, to talk to and bring them into the healthcare workforce, nursing clinicians. So there's so much continued staffing challenges at some of these regional academic medical centers, the small facilities. They would be able to use this so much better and have value. We want to be able to not scare them and call, scare with the AI platform. Oh my God, what the technology is this? I am too small for this. We want to be able to make it a plug and play version for them, as small or as simple as possible, that we take their business rules and we just run with it, and it works. So that's what our goal is.
Awesome. Well, Pavani, once again, appreciate you spending time, and look forward to seeing how the company continues to grow. I know people can find you on LinkedIn. Where else can people find the company and yourself?
We are, I think, right now on LinkedIn and our website.
What's the website?
cognitivehealthit.com.
cognitivehealthit.com. Awesome. Well, Pavani, this was a lot of fun. Seriously, congratulations on persevering, and 2025 is going to be the year.
Thank you so much, Mendel. And likewise, I'm seeing you. I follow you on LinkedIn. You're doing some very cool stuff. We need people like you to bring these ideas accessible for everybody else, and not just in a physical conference. So you're doing a fantastic job, and I look forward to seeing you in person sometime.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. Thanks, Pavani.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.